extremely richer than you are, and you are happy for them. And you are respectful. Are we together now? And there's no evil in your heart towards them. And you're believing God that one day legitimately you will also get.
Yes.
That is the beginning of that journey. Because when you come with a negativity of, oh, we don't know how they made it. Oh, they used us. You know, even in business, how to work on myself that, yes, I'm a black man, but I'm not going to see a white rich man and think that I'm poor because I don't know that because he's rich. Like, it's totally wrong mindset. Right? Maybe his grandparents were involved in slavery and colonialism, but not him. And I'm not going to carry the sins of his grandparent. I'm not learning at all.
Yes.
And then so, you know, I'll never do business with a white man. Forget. All you black South Africans, this is part of your problem. Because your fellow white South Africans, you are not partnering with them. And guess what? They own the country. They have all the money. Whether you like it or not, you know, the money is there with them. Are we learning at all? And whatever appetite or no appetite, I mean, if Nelson Mandela that spent 26 years in prison will come out and forgive, I keep telling people, I cannot do what Mandela did. I cannot do it. I just can't do it. Even if I will forgive, first thing I will do is to take everybody's wealth. If you're white or you're black, I'm taking it.
We've got the money.
You know, we're taking it. But that is a man that then showed the path that everybody needed to show. Are we learning at all? He has shown the what? The path that what? Everybody needed to toe. Which is to say, if we will be better people, we must partner with these people. We must look at their strengths and leverage on it and move to the next level. It's the same thing we do even amongst ourselves, blacks. So those Nigerians, they're too clever, eh?
Yeah.
But the best way is to leverage on their cleverness as an asset to move the continent forward. Even in Nigeria, you know what they say? I'm a Yoruba man, say, all those Igbo boys. Who's Igbo? And I tell people, if I'm the president of Nigeria, all the latest technological inventions will be in Igbo land. I don't know that you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because I want to tap into the positivity
Yes.
of that.
Yeah.
Because every human being, every tool is a tool for either good or bad. Am I making sense at all?
Yes.
The same way it could have been used for evil, it can be used for bad. For good, right? So the same way, being a white man was synonymous to slavery, was synonymous to apartheid, was synonymous to colonialism, right? Partnering with a white man could be synonymous to tremendous wealth that can still help the African country. Is this making sense at all? The same way that, some Nigerians are, into crime and have messed up the brand, right? That same way, there are a lot of those same Nigerians that could be instrumental to turning around the entire destiny of the whole of Africa. Are we learning something at all? Yes. The same way, the Fulanis, some of them were involved in killing people. Or the Igbos, some of them are always aggressive or try to be clever. You can use those people to turning around the fortune of Nigeria. And I share this with Abubakar, that how many of you noticed that what we are discussing right now was what the story of the Indians used to be, and the Chinese. In the 70s, those of you who are older, in the 70s, in the 80s, even in Nigeria, right? The Indians were the people that you despise. Right? The perception is that, they were into a lot of diabolical stuff. Remember the myth that there was a football match? Who remember? At least you remember them.
Yes.
And the Indians were banned because there was 99 goals scored against the other opponent. Because they just used voodoo And the goalkeeper was just saying lying. I was running away from the goalpost. That was the perception of Indians. Today, is that the same perception?
No.
India runs the whole of Silicon Valley. Right? Same thing with Chinese. And I'm telling you, watch it, the same thing will happen to Nigeria. The same thing will happen. I can't wait. Give it a few years. It will evolve. The perception of Nigerians, are we together now? Years from now, will be that those guys, they are big in tech, they are big in this, they are big in that, they are big in. You see what Afrobeat is doing? At least all of you love Afrobeat. They are vulnerable. Okay? Are we together now? But the same thing works, whether Nigerian, whether it's South African, black South African, white South African, the same mentality needs to come on board. Are we together? Oh, yes. Come on, are we together? Yes. So, honest what? Relationship. Can you tell your neighbor honest relationship? Honest relationship. Part 7 of the book, part 7 of Billionaire Code, it talks about mentorship code. Now, in the mentorship code, I shared how I failed in almost 20 businesses. Almost 20. I sold popcorn, I sold electronics, I've sold books, I've organized trade fair events. I mean, all manner of businesses I've had. And at some point, I felt it was diabolical. I felt the witches in my village, were too powerful. They were really after me. Yes. But years later, I realized that it was no witch for me. There was no food to anyone. It was that I didn't have mentors in those businesses I was doing. I was going into businesses without mentorship. Look at, those of you who are working with Mr. Michael, right? And she was talking about she was going to start a business. What's your name again? Huh? Fortunate. Your names are unique here in South Africa. I feel like taking some of them away. Right? Fortunate, for example, has learned so much from Mr. Michael and he's been like a mentor, right? You came, the two of you now, he's your mentor. And I realized that once you lack those culture and those principles, you're not going to succeed in business. All great businesses work because you look for somebody who is ahead of you and you go and say, can I learn? Right? And what happens while you are learning what works and what does not work. And by the time you start your business, you scale faster than somebody who didn't have much mentorship. Is this making sense at all? So the beginning of success in business, and that's all wealthy people, it's even my secret now. I no longer do any business, right, except I am sure I have a mentor or a partner who is already successful, not that he will soon be successful. Already successful in the business, and I'm going to partner with the person. Maybe he needs more money, so I'm bringing more money. Maybe he needs more connection, so I'm bringing more connection. But he's already successful. Now, okay, let's partner, and then we'll take the business to the next level. And it has worked like magic. It has worked like magic. Sometimes I have all the money, and people always wonder, you have the money, but you are not starting alone. I say, why do you think? How many of you know that Tesla was not founded by Elon Musk? If you know, raise your hand. But you are opening your mouth. He didn't found it, Tesla. Who knows the company he founded? Anybody? He didn't found PayPal either.
X.
Huh?
X.
X. Huh?
SpaceX. Sorry. SpaceX.
He didn't found SpaceX.
Really?
Yes. He didn't found SpaceX. Who else? Huh?
Gaming company.
The name, no, it's not even a gaming company. Was it a gaming company? I think it's P something. I think P2 or.
Yeah, Excel.
Huh?
Excel.
His first company was something P something, and it was actually for finance. It's like similar to PayPal, right? But I think the company was then bought over by PayPal, right? And then gradually worked its way to owning majority in PayPal. And then they sold PayPal. And it was the money from PayPal he then used to buy SpaceX, majority is SpaceX. And all these other companies that you're seeing. You're learning now. Huh? So, how many of you also know that technically Bill Gates did not found Microsoft?
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the name Microsoft, yes, is his own, but the product that first started Microsoft, that Microsoft was built on, was not owned by Bill Gates. Right? IBM needed an operating, they call it operating software, because in those days, computers were as big as this room. Please switch off your phone or put it on silence, right? You know, were as big as this room, big computers. So IBM wanted to then start making computers smaller, right? But they needed a software to operate, and that software needed a casing that is smaller, right? So the hard disk was technically the first product of Microsoft. The hard disk. But Bill Gates did not invent the hard disk. His mom used to work with IBM. He got the information, agreed with them that he was going to produce it. Now started looking who had it. And he met a gentleman who had it. If you go to study the story, you will see the man himself. And the man said, what? He wanted $50,000. He said, I want the patent right. And that's the secret of Bill Gates. He wants the patent right. I didn't found it, but transferred the ownership right to me. So the man said he wanted $50,000. In the 80s, $50,000 was a lot of money. So he went back to IBM. Oh, can you see what we talked about earlier here now?
Network.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Huh? Because if he didn't have his network in IBM, how would he even know that there was such a need? Network. Right? Network. Don't ever joke with it. Somebody said, poor people go to work. Rich people build network. So a lot of time you undermine rich people, and that's why some people hate rich people. There's that perception that, oh, all these rich people, you know, what happened really was that they... Okay, okay, this your dress is powerful. And I've spoken about you earlier. Anyway, I thought you were going to anchor this event.
Who, me?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, this is not your kind of event. It has to be wedding party here. All of that. Please let me celebrate Abonaki. He's a famous entertainer. He does a lot of stuff. You should follow him. He has over 4 million views across platforms. Right. So back to what I was saying. What was the last time I said?
Network.
Networking.
People hate billionaires.
People hate.
Why?
Eh?
We're talking about the
people. People don't like people who have
Because they think they are lazy, right? Because you say, oh, to this morning you see him at the golf course, tomorrow you see him having meeting, he's at the art. But what you don't know is that he's busy working. That's the new version of work. There are 3 levels a business founder must go through. Phase 1, hard work, right? Phase 2,
smart work.
he now needed to begin to get smarter. Because there is a phase of your business, it's no longer about hard work. Right? You now need to begin to get smarter, managing people, managing smart people, right? Creating an environment that smart people will be comfortable working in. But there's a 3rd phase, which is now what?
Network.
Now, which is purely meeting rich people. Because at that level, that's what will happen. Like I was sharing the story, 1st phase, isn't it? Oh, be funny enough. How do you make sure you are creative enough to be funny? Right? As an entertainer. And that's the hard work part. You crack a joke, you do a skit, you cancel, you say it's not funny enough, right? And then you do another one. See, all the hard work, isn't it? Then you move to what? Phase 2, which is smart work. Can I do it with more people? Can I use more softwares? So that I'm not necessarily doing too much physical. I can edit the thing and to look as if, isn't it? The next phase, which is what he's now trying to do with me, which is I want to start producing movies. I want to start doing, right? I want to found a company, which is at that point, network of people who have the money, who can give it to you. Are we learning? Yes. But don't forget that you must not skip any of this. If you rush to come to network, what will happen is that you'll be shallow.
Yeah.
You meet rich people and there's no depth. You know what I'm talking about? There's just no depth. You're shallow. And you just wonder, what did I do? This person is not excited about me because even your ideas, everything is just shallow. And then they've seen it all. You say, I can show you when I do the business. We've done this thing, we've been there, done that. So we know what idea will work or will not work. Are we together now? But if you go through the entire value chain, then you see that it's then easier to do. But ultimately, it goes back to mentorship. Who has succeeded in the business that you're going to walk up to and say, sir, right, can I serve under you? And I tell people there are two ways to get network. You either serve, you serve to attract network, okay? Service. Okay? The second way is to what? Is to pay. There's a third version. You serve and you what? You pay. There's a royal family in Dubai. They're trying to come to Nigeria. And I got to know about it. I said, you know what? Consider it done. Flights, hotel,
On me.
all on me.
On me.
Logistic protocol on me. That's service plus what? Pay.
My husband was saying sure that I'm training up.
Really? Well, that's how to network.
I'm training up.
That's how to network. Because what will happen is that the next time you will see a video, just like a lot of people were shocked with my video with Isama, she gave her a video, right? Being hosted by the royal family of Dubai. Say, hey, that guy, you don't even know how he does it. I think it's the anointing. I think it's grace. I don't understand. Okay? We served our way. Am I making sense at all? Yes. Because what I learned about rich people, they don't like to owe. Their ego won't allow them. Rich people don't like to owe. I'm not talking about owing banks, so they owe. In fact, that's what they do. Their whole life is owing the banks. But they don't like to pay dividends. So if you do a favor to a rich man, he wants to pay you back. And he wants to show that he can pay better. So I'm always making sure that those who are richer than I do, they are owing me. So when you see all those opportunities, you see me with Obasanjo, with Alaki of Egbaland and all of that, it was those principles. And if you notice the way they treated me, it wasn't based on my age. Right? Because you see people and you know this person understands the principles that governs the entire universe. Are you excited?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yes. The Billionaire Code. Well, those of you who came late, I'm not going to repeat myself. Right? We're more than halfway into the class. So we have the Billionaire Habits for entrepreneurs. And this is a very small book, but I felt I needed to niche it down to those who are into business. Because there are some dynamics to becoming a rich person that most people who are on their way don't understand. So I decided to write this book because I realized I've seen situations where many rich people, they're on their way to riches, then they retrogress.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows what I'm talking about? And for many of us who are black entrepreneurs, that's usually our story.
Yes.
You hear a story of a black guy is rising, before you know it, something happened, It comes down. And because he's not even prepared for what was going to happen. Right? He's not just even prepared. So in this book, one of the things I shared in the Billionaire Habits for Entrepreneur is to be prepared for war in the day of peace.
Wow.
And I share how business is war. That's really what it is. Business is war. I tell people I'm a man of peace, but I budget for war.
Wow.
I have lawyers that I pay every year, and I've never used them. It's for the days of crisis. But I don't want to, the day I don't have crisis, that's the day I'm connecting with them. I don't know whether you understand. So I'm budgeting ahead. Because this dimension, most entrepreneurs don't know it. Yeah. So when it happens, they begin to feel like did I do something wrong? It's normal. You must understand how growth works. People, okay, I'll give a practical one. Those of you who are Nigerians will relate to this. There's an artist called Naira Marley. There was a time the Nigerian government had an issue with this guy. The court was full of this guy's fans. They were ready to burn down the court if they were to do nonsense. The same guy, they burned down his house 3 days ago. Same youth I used to shout the same guy. So what happened? Who can guess? What happened?
Moba's dead.
Yes, no, Moba's dead, but what happened really? What could have led to people who used to love you, right? Suddenly turn against you. Death or no death. I mean, there's no evidence that he had hand in it. There were stories of old videos and all that. But I can assure you, burning down that house wasn't just the Moba's death triggered it. There is already boiling resentment against the man. So who can guess? Does this happen to any successful businessman, rich man, and it's global? It's not
Stopped connecting.
Eh?
He stopped connecting.
He stopped connecting.
He didn't prepare
That's
for
part
war.
of it. Eh?
He didn't prepare for war.
He didn't prepare for war.
Growth.
It's an African DNA where we love David, we hate Goliath. And many of us don't prepare. We are David today, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
And we're on our way to becoming who?
Goliath. Hey.
Once you are big, right? So he wants to start making movies. At the beginning, we're happy for you. Everybody's coming together. Then, before you know it, the news start coming. They can acquire $2 million from Netflix to produce new movie. Those who paid 12,000 naira to sign up for Netflix just because of Lagos movie.
They'll come out.
They'll first be saying, okay, we are watching. Then before you know, he signed another deal, $10 million with Amazon. He did. Let him not make any mistake after that time. With the new David. Are you seeing that? With the what? Because there will not be another new David.
Yes.
So the culture by black people is we are always for David. Why? Because each of us always feel we are currently David. An average black man, no matter what nation he is from, is facing some form of oppression or the other. Hey, who can get what I'm saying? Right? So we are mentally always at that level. So anytime someone represents a David in our eye, we're ready to support.
Yeah.
Ready. And some of us don't know when we're already now growing out of David to now becoming
Goliath.
a Goliath. And we're not conscious of the society and how, even in politics, look at some of our leaders. They used to, Nelson Mandela, God bless him, he understood this. That's why he did not do more than one time. He understood it. You understand that the same hymn you will be shouting Great Madiba. If he did the second time, what did he even do? You know, and things are still bad. But suddenly, so he got it. Right? Leave when the ovation is loud. So oftentimes, people will be wondering, why does it that when doctor writes, you could feel that he's connecting with poor people, even though we know he's a rich man, because I understand this concept. Yeah.
Sorry, just quickly. So, are you saying that are we able to avoid the Goliath sin, right? Or it's an inevitable thing?
It's an inevitable thing. The only thing you can do once you are now a Goliath is to keep relating with the Davids. Create platform for David. That's what Tony Lumelu has done.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
You know, I launched a $5 million grant recently where we're giving $5,000 to small entrepreneurs. And that's the intention, because I know I'm already growing bigger. Even the book, that's the intention.
So let me finish my question.
Yes.
So I get what you're saying in terms of still connecting, but remember you said, and it just happens naturally. So when you're growing or you're already on another path, you have to leave some people behind.
Yes.
So how do you manage that they don't feel, because obviously, like you said, you had to move from Komole or Songo, right? You moved to Banana Island. I don't expect you now to go to Songo and go and sit down and be having beer with your former neighbors. So how do you manage that?
So you need to know that the David isn't necessarily like somebody you've known from your past. It's just a perception, right? So sometimes the people who end up coming after you are not even related to you. It's not about anything really that's local or anything. Even the Mobad issue, it wasn't Mobad that came after Naira. A lot of those guys went to burn his house or are shouting on social media. I've never met Mobad or I've never met Naira himself. So nobody's asking you not to disconnect with those who are not going where you're going. That's the first rule on your journey to wealth. Remember, we talked about that billionaire habit group, right?
Yeah.
You must understand that the first thing when you come to the subject of wealth, I can predict where you will be in the next 5 years.
Correct.
Show me your friends.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I can predict.
Yeah.
Right? Because the quality of people around you that determines where you're going to be. It's simple as that. If they are poor people, you'll soon be the sixth one. Show me 5 friends and all of them are poor. You soon, even if you are rich today, you'll soon be the sixth one.
Yeah.
If the 5 friends are rich and you are poor, you'll soon be the rich one. It's a matter of time. I did this same thing. 2016 was the year I wanted to become a billionaire. And all through that year, I started meeting billionaires, go to their house. Of course, I had to unmute myself. Some of them would tell me it will take 3 months before they meet me because they're going to Paris, they're going to... I had to swallow my ego because imagine someone just reading their itinerary. So from Paris, I'm going to South Africa, then I'm going... And at some point, you're first feeling like, is he bragging? But it's not bragging, it's just reality.
Yeah.
Today now, I'm even conscious of that. When, as I speak to you now, till November, tonight I'm off to Paris. From Paris, I'm off to New York, and then Dallas, then Houston, then like that.
Doc, sorry, you said something to cut you. You said that you made a decision to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Were you intentional and conscious about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it was a decision. You can make it too.
Okay.
It was a decision. Our company was doing hundreds of millions as at that time, right? But again, it still wasn't enough. We're struggling, and because we're doing real estate, we needed money. You're paying for land, and I avoided borrowing. We've not taken loan in the last 15 years. Right? Yes. That's another training for another day.
Wow.
We won't go into that today because we won't have time. Because there's another strategy that helped us to do that. And so, for me was realizing all of that, I wanted to grow bigger. And the first thing was intentionally. I said, my first billionaire friend, I remember after we became friends, January of 2017 came to our house. I had moved to a new house, and then invited him. My wife prepared chicken, we were eating. I had another friend again, and I told him, I just shouted January. In my mind, the next word was going to be bad months. And he said, good news. So I held my own thoughts to hear his own. He said, this month, and started showing me a lot. our project 4.7 billion was just approved. The first installment was 700 million. And we said, this is not even a light, it's a lamp. Can blow your phone. He said the second project was, I mean, when he was calling figures, I swallowed myself. Me too, this January. Some good news. And guess what? That was the last January that was bad for me. Now I am more richer, liquid-wise, every January.
Wow.
And it has even helped my business because January,
It's the quarter.
most people are poor.
Yes.
So properties I wanted to buy, that I said I was going to pay 700 million, they said no, over my dead body. January I would just dangle 200 million deposit. You know, I bring it. Right? Because they're already broke. They need money. So I evolve, but you see how just a relationship can just turn things around. Okay? But so that we don't lose that thought, because this is part of the major issue you face as your business begins to grow, is that people will naturally come after you. It's normal. There's nothing you can do about it. Someone was just sending me 2 messages of somebody who literally was circulating some mails, negative mails about me. And I just told the person, I said, well, the legal department have taken it up, but there's nothing we can do. Right? As you grow higher. And I said something to the person, I said, but in reality, this guy is just giving me free advice. Because a lot of people who know you, until someone starts talking about you negatively, then they will go and check you out. And when they are checking you out, I say, but
It doesn't match.
it doesn't look too bad. Then they'll give it time. Then 6 months is that they made up their mind. So, in fact, major growths always occur in times of crisis.
Yeah.
Major growth. In fact, the major way people then blow is through crisis. One practical case, I don't know if you South African know him, is called Obi Kobana. You know, he did the burial of his mom, he was everywhere, right? Before you know it, EFCC one day besieged his house, he was a mess, right? But since that time, he had opened bigger companies. Yeah, I don't know that because that just took him to the next level. I remember 2015 or so, DSS came to my office. I was running training like this in my office in Nigeria. And DSS are like Department of, they work with the president. And they came with heavy guns. And now, a lot of the poor people that heard about it were like, hey, yeah, sorry, hope that you know everything was fine. All the rich friends I knew, you know what they said? They said, oh, your level has changed.
Wow.
For the president to be after him, welcome to the next level. I kid you not. You see, totally opposite. Right? And I can assure you that's what happened to Biko Bank. At that point, a lot more rich people were more comfortable doing business with you. I'm telling you. I mean, so be ready for that. So in the book, I shared a lot about the challenges entrepreneurs will face. There's nothing you can do about it, and how you can then prepare for them, because they will come. Am I making sense to you? Yes. Somebody was spreading some false news about a company, and you know, another lawyer, we have a lot of law firms we work with. Another lawyer had been dealing with the issue, but the guy wouldn't take it serious. And I said, let Falana office deal with it. When they got a letter, Falana is one of the biggest lawyers in Nigeria, SA. When they got a letter, even his lawyer, everybody behaved. But imagine you didn't plan to have had a lawyer like a Falana on your side. I'm not making sense to talk. In fact, some newspaper company, once they heard from him, they pull out of, releasing that negative publication. So, understand that you're in business. There will be a time, there will be crisis. Prepare ahead. Have those foundations so that when they occur, it's not like they won't occur, but it's mitigated. You don't totally lose your reputation, by what somebody else is saying. Yes, you want to ask a question. You guys are not waiting to finish all the questions. But let me take it quickly.
No, I got lost.
So book number 4 is called Becoming a Billionaire Land Banker. So here I shared stories about how I started buying land in commercial quantities. The first land we got, and remember the network we talked about, right? So I've always been doing, our company started as a digital marketing firm. We're a bulk SMS company. That's why we started in 15 years ago. We were just selling bulk SMS to people. It was 8 years ago we diversified to real estate. So I was really training in our office, teaching people how to use the internet. One of the skills that I know how to use very well is digital marketing. Today I work with a lot of influencers. And when they try to talk, I just laugh. Because they don't even know that I even have, diploma in digital marketing from the UK. I'm going to way back. We're one of the pioneering digital marketing firms in Nigeria, right? And work with top multinational, Chivita, BZ, MTN, GT Bank, right? So that's really how we started. So one of those trainings I was telling that I was going to go into real estate. So after the class, a man approached me and said to me, you said you were going to go into real estate. I have 250 acres in Ikorodu, right? I can give you 50 acres. I know you're a man of integrity. As you sell, you pay me, right? My true story of how I started, right? But prior to that, I had already been selling real estate property for others, and I was getting commission, which is also go back to what I talked about earlier. If you are not faithful in that which is another man, who will give you money? Remember I talked about that the real success comes by serving. Many times you don't even know what you will gain, but just go sell. Oftentimes one of the things people admire about building relationship with me is that you see that genuinely I care about your growth. Genuinely. And I intentionally had to build that culture. Right? And I realized that is what had always then opened more door for me too. Because if you are not faithful in that which is another man, who will give you your own? When people know that it's always about you, you are not thinking about their own interests as well. You won't be well. And really for you to be a billionaire, you use 2 things called OPT and what? OPM. So if you notice this, everything is about other people. So if these people who needed to help you already believe you are stingy, not stingy, you are self-centered, then you won't get them on your side. Other people's time, other people's money. Right? Am I making sense at all? We just increased salary of our top staff, and all our general staff were increasing their salary by 100%. Right? Took some of them last month to Rwanda, all expense paid through. But actually, all my staff is in our company. They ever leave Nigeria for the first time in their life.
Wow.
Right? First time. OPT. So people someone was still saying it to me. Where were we? He said, when your staff call, the passion. He said, what do you do? I think someone was asking that question. I think it was in Benin. He said, what do you do? You could see that they take the business like it's their own. Right? Because they know that the organ we have, if there is money, we could share it. We enjoy it. Right? OPM, other people's money. People invest with you and you don't give them returns. It's wild. Right? It's wild. So I didn't borrow money from the bank, but I have an investment program. People invest, $5,000, $10,000, $100,000, $200,000, and they get their returns. Sometimes we go through hell to make sure we don't disappoint, to make sure we pay. But when those things are there, the business is unstoppable. So the man said, you're a man of integrity. You have capacity to sell. I'll give you 50. Now, you would think that's good news, isn't it? So we went to the land, only for us to be seeing water. In fact, it was trees they were using to point where our own land will start from. And then in the layout. So I took one of my friends who is into real estate. He looked at the land and said, don't bother. People who try with this kind of land are rich people. You are not. Big companies. So you don't start your real estate with this. I took my brother to them. Everybody discouraged me. But I said something, I should write it down. I said, I have learned to always do the impossible with the available.
Yes.
I have learned to always do the impossible with the available. And any time you, even for those of you who are Christians, check through the Bible. Everybody God has called, they had to do the impossible
Possible with the available. Yeah.
David had just 5 stones. He was to kill somebody who is 5 times his height. The stone was what was available. But he had to do the impossible. Is this making sense to talk? Because many of us have not scaled our business because we are undermining the available. We are looking at the available and saying, it's too small. Right? If it can just be bigger, if I can just be like this other person, if I can just have more. So we started. So I take people to the land. I will show the map. Now imagine what was with thank God for God. Because we were selling a property and we're using our competitor who happened to be the one to give me the first 50 acres. So because the entire place was water, so it's only his own gates that was unfilled. So I practically bring my client to another man's estate, and then on his signage, he then has the map of the entire area. So I will say to them, we bought into this man's place, our own property starts from this map, because you can't even see the thing. And started getting, we had Messiah Ibe, we had Laura, celebrities to start endorsing inside that water. Some of you are too ashamed.
Yeah.
It is foolishness to be shameful of what is feeding you. Right? Some of those celebrities, when we started, will be saying, no, they can't come, they can do video. I said, no, you have to come. Because if you don't come, what happens if one of your fans buy from us and eventually say we're scammers? Won't you join to also say, well, I didn't know, I've not been there. So come and see what you are saying and see how it looks and market it the way it looks. Those who will believe, will believe.
Will believe, yeah.
Today, we are talking about over 30 estates and we're going to 200. I thought you would cry. Right? But to have despised the available waterlogged land, am I making sense to talk and say, it's waterlogged, can you imagine? So, what's funny today is that we say John Road, we fence the place. That's it. And the place is growing every day. But some of those land I bought then, 500,000. Some I bought 1 million. They are now going for 15 million, 30 million, 50 million. And some I bought 300 plus, some 1,000 plus. So multiply. So you can do the same. Right? I'm hoping next time I come to South Africa, we'll do maybe 2-3 days on real estate, because this is a book review, and I'll go in depth into how to go into real estate and some of the powerful things you can do. But you can do it. And I'm challenging a lot of us who are black to begin to take real estate seriously. Because that's what the white people know that we don't know. You go to America, you're seeing 3rd generation ranch, isn't it?
Yeah.
4th generation real estate. You are seeing 5th generation wealth. Even here in South Africa, not the white South African. It's 3rd generation, asset and wealth. Yeah, we blacks. You what generation?
Okay.
Eh? I'm not making sense at all. For me, for example, I'm the 1st generation that you can even say has some wealth. I was sharing the story of how I met my father-in-law, why he refused to give me his daughter. He asked me, he was just trying to know, do I even have anybody notable in my family? Because before you give your daughter to somebody, okay, does he have somebody important? We couldn't find one.
Hey.
We couldn't find one. Right? Today, now everyone in my family uses my name to introduce themselves. They couldn't naturally, when people even see him, say, "Ah, are you related to?" Say, "Yeah, it's my uncle." You know, how you have it? It's my uncle, it's my bro. At least that compensates. It's my bro, it's my, It's like, are we together now? So we need to change that narrative. Enough of Africans investing in cars, investing in designers, and we're not investing in owning real assets. And guess what? This whole real estate thing started with us. Right? We were the ones, if you check that's why every African has a village. We were the ones to start this concept of owning land and tracing your roots to a land. We were the ones before the white man came. Right? But we've lost those culture. Throw it away. And the new generation are not picking up. And it begins with just the desire to say, I want to own as many real estate assets as possible. Because the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. I don't have things that my children's children, I always tell people that I can see my great-grandchildren kissing my picture. Great-great-grandpa.
Yes.
Stephen, I keep telling you. He left good heritage for us. Right? Have you noticed that no matter how terrible a rich man is, right? If he takes care of his family, they love him.
Yeah.
They love him. He's not the one that is irresponsible. So, but they are loving him because they know that even in the evil, the wealth is still left for them. The whole thing is still being done for their own sake. So a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So, how many of you are pastors? The last one is Billionaire Habit for Pastors. So we have one pastor. So if you're not a pastor, you're a pastor. If you're not a pastor, you can buy it for your pastor. I think it will help. So I wrote the book. It's forwarded by Oliver Emmanuel, and why I made him to forward it is because he is a pastor that is a billionaire. He's into real estate. He has never used his pastor as a reason to deceive members. He makes his money and probably will use his money to help the church. Right? And I did this book when I realized there was a lot of debate about how pastors are extorting members. And I could empathize with both parties because I could relate with both. My own father was a clergy, and we were poor because he chose to say he's a pastor. My mother, who is a civil servant, is hustling to raise us. Because my dad would pray for people. Before he prays for them, he will make them to vow that if God answered their prayer, they will come and say thank you, to come and give him something. But they will never. So we grew up knowing a father who never was physically was there, but never financially was there. So I could empathize that, as much as we feel a lot of pastors are extorting, there's so many pastors who are even struggling, who are even poor because they decide to become clergy people. But on the other hand as well, I could relate to seeing a lot of pastors, and they do that a lot in Eastern and Southern Africa. A pastor laying his leg on members and going to the river and touching their, sensitive parts. I don't even know how these people do this nonsense, right? And doing all manner of nonsense. Extorting people, giving all their assets away, and all of that. So I felt the reason why most pastors do that is because they are poor. And they've not figured out how to make money for themselves legitimately.
Yeah.
Right? This is the same issue African politicians are facing.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Western politicians are less corrupt, not that they're not corrupt, they are less corrupt, is because there is already an official pathway to how a politician can make money legitimately in those parts. Number one is writing a book. Right? That's why if you notice, they all write books. After, even Hillary, despite that she lost, remember, she wrote a book. And from that book, at least, maybe you've spent, I'm just giving, of your own personal money, $20 million. That book in itself can raise you another $100 million, at least for the first signing. Michelle Obama, all of them, they write books, right? Because it's a major, because in their own case, unlike me that I'm self-publishing, we're trying to encourage people. If I were to be in America now, for this book now, first of all, I'm even signing a check of maybe 20 million, like, first of all, aside royalties that will now keep coming later. So they have structured different ways that politicians can make money legitimately. So they don't go into government trying to, steal. They know that once they leave, there are ways they can create money legitimately. So I realize the same problem pastors are facing in Africa. Right? So in this book, I share 20 businesses pastors can do that will not even affect their job, their ministerial calling, and can legitimately, and why this was also important, that's why I say you should buy it for the pastor. Any pastor that does not understand business, right, will never raise successful business people in their church.
Yeah.
Because the day the church has a crusade, and you have a business meeting in New York, and your pastor wants you to be there, he will ask you to sacrifice the business meeting for the crusade. But a pastor who is an entrepreneur, I don't know how to say, no, go. Because the seed you will sow will still help us fund the crusade. Do you see the mindset now? But, and so we are having issues where a lot of people even attend churches where their pastor is anti-wealth. Right? And they're wondering why you are fasting, you are praying, and nothing is happening. Because even your pastor doesn't even understand how money works. And money does not answer to prayer and fasting.
Oh.
That one is for deliverance, for healing. Money, that's why all the religious people don't believe God exists. I still watched a video today where I said, Elon Musk, do you believe in God? He said, well, I believe in the idea that there's some explanation to how the universe was created.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not religious. Try. So, with all the prayer of your pastor, how much money does he have? Bill Gates also is an atheist. Right? So all these rich people don't believe there's God. You believe there's God and you're still poor. Something's wrong there. Yeah. Right? Because the concept of making money has nothing to do with whether you pray or fast. It's principles. And whether you believe God, if you practice it, you get the same. You don't believe God, you practice it, you get the same. It's just like the concept of day and night. Right? Because you're a criminal, does the sun refuse to shine on you?
No.
They say, okay, I will not shine on the criminal. Once it's day, it's day. I'm not making sense at all. Once it's night, it's night. The same thing with the laws, and that's why I wrote all these books. Because if you can just follow these principles, 5 years from today, your story has changed. Right? Your story has changed. Who is interested? Who is enrolling?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's so good to be here in South Africa. Unfortunately, so who is the representative of the Consular General? I heard he says representative. Okay, welcome, sir. How are you? What's the name, sir?
My name is Kehiawi Pirazzi.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, it's good to be here in South Africa, even though I've not had time to enjoy myself. So I have to come back, right? And this time around, I probably will come So I probably will come for 2 weeks so that I can really move around and have a great time. There's been so much. I just had 3 days to spend, and I've just been meetings here and there. But it's good to be here. It's good to see amazing people, and I'm impressed by your story. I'm impressed by your story. I'm impressed by your story. And thank you for representing the brand and what I stand for. And thank you for proving that what I teach works. Because if you can practice it in South Africa and you're already doing so well and you have all these amazing people under you, and you're doing big deals and you're starting your own company, You know, even before we met physically, just leveraging on my YouTube videos, I am humbled. I'm humbled. And thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it. So I'll take a few questions. Like I said, each book is $47. And if you're buying each of the 5, it's $150. I must warn you, my team did not give me enough copies of the book, and we always face this everywhere we go. So we only have 7 units of the 5 combo, right? We only have 7 of that 5 combo. And then for the Billionaire Habits and the Billionaire Code, we only have maybe another 15, because I need to take some to Paris, right? And like I said to you, but the good news is you can buy soft copy. You can also buy on Amazon. The only thing is that I won't sign it for you. This one I will sign for you. We'll take pictures together. So which is why people always love to buy directly with me when I'm here. Like I said, the goal is not to make money. The entire unit we have is not to my flight ticket. Talk less of cost of venue, hotel, and all that. So it's not for making money. It's to change the mindset of the people. And what will gladden my heart is that the next time I'm coming to South Africa, just like those 3 people I pointed, you can share your story and say, hey, I started following you, I read all your books, and this is how, you know, my life has changed. Are we together now? From the values I saw in the book and that I practice. Now this gentleman came first, and he flew all the way from KZN.
KZN.
KZN. So he came all the way. And by the way, he even drove another 400 meters. Just 400 kilometers to be close to the airport. Then, you know, I slept there last night.